The Exorcist is one of the most iconic and terrifying horror movies of all time. But did you know that it was based on a real case of demonic possession that took place in the late 1940s? This is the harrowing story of Roland Doe, the boy who became the center of a series of exorcisms that shocked the world. It all began in January 1949 in a suburban house in Washington, D.C. There lived a 13-year-old boy named Ronald Hunkeler, also known as Roland Doe, with his parents and his grandmother. Roland was a quiet and introverted child who had a close bond with his Aunt Harriet, a spiritualist who taught him how to use a Ouija board. Harriet died shortly before the events that would change Roland's life forever. According to some sources, Roland tried to contact his aunt's spirit through the Ouija board, unaware of the dangers that lurked beyond the veil. Soon after, strange phenomena began to occur in the house. Scratching noises were heard from the walls and the floors. Objects moved by themselves. Furniture levitated and toppled over. Water dripped from the ceiling. And most disturbingly, Roland started to exhibit signs of a dark and sinister force taking over him. Roland's parents were terrified and confused. They took him to doctors, psychiatrists, and even a Lutheran minister, but none of them could explain or cure his condition. They suspected that he was possessed by an evil entity and sought the help of the Catholic Church. The first priest who attempted to perform an exorcism on Roland was Father E. Albert Hughes, a local pastor who had heard of the boy's plight. He visited Roland at the Georgetown University Hospital, where he witnessed the boy's bed shaking violently and objects flying across the room. He also claimed that he saw the words "hello" and "no" appear on Roland's chest, as if written by an invisible hand. Father Hughes was not prepared for the intensity and ferocity of Roland's possession. He was scared and overwhelmed, and decided to stop the exorcism. He later said that he feared for his life and that he had a nervous breakdown after the ordeal. He also suffered a severe injury when Roland slashed his arm with a bed spring that he had ripped from his mattress. Father Hughes realized that he needed more experienced and qualified exorcists to handle Roland's case. He contacted his superiors at the Archdiocese of Washington, who in turn contacted the Jesuit priests at St. Louis University, where Roland's relatives lived. They agreed to take over the case and arranged for Roland and his family to travel to St. Louis by train. The two Jesuit priests who were assigned to exorcise Roland were Father William Bowden, a professor of history and the head of the university's retreat house, and Father Walter Halloran, a former football player and a theology student. They were joined by Father Raymond Bishop, a professor of Greek and Latin, who acted as a witness and a recorder of the events. The priests were skeptical at first, but they soon realized that Roland's case was genuine and serious. They witnessed him speaking in languages that he had never learned, such as Latin, German, and French. They saw him displaying incredible strength and agility, breaking free from his restraints and attacking them with his fists, teeth, and nails. They heard him making animal noises and mocking and blaspheming them and their faith, and they observed him reacting violently to any religious symbols or objects, such as crucifixes, rosaries, or holy water. The priests performed the exorcism ritual on Roland for several weeks, sometimes for hours at a time, in different locations, such as the retreat house, the Alexian Brothers Hospital, and the house of Roland's relatives on Roanoke Drive. They faced many challenges and dangers, such as Roland's resistance and hostility, the interference of the demonic entity, and the exhaustion and stress of the ordeal. They also faced criticism and skepticism from some of their colleagues and the public, who doubted the validity and morality of their actions. The priests persevered, however, and believed that they were doing God's work. They prayed and fasted and sought the support and guidance of their fellow Jesuits and the Archbishop of St. Louis. They also received help from Roland's family, who stayed by his side and comforted him during his moments of lucidity. They also befriended a young seminarian named Walter Halloran, who became Roland's companion and protector. The exorcism reached its climax on the night of April 18, 1949, at the house on Roanoke Drive. The priests decided to make one final attempt to expel the demon from Roland, using all the weapons at their disposal. They laid holy relics and crucifixes on Roland's body and invoked the name of Saint Michael, the archangel who defeated Satan in the biblical war in heaven. They commanded the demon to reveal its name and to leave Roland in peace. The demon resisted fiercely, and the room became a scene of chaos and horror. Roland's bed shook violently and the windows cracked. The air became cold and foul, and the lights flickered. Roland's body contorted and convulsed, and his voice became louder and angrier. He shouted obscenities and threats and claimed that he was the devil himself. He also said that he had possessed Roland because of his Aunt Harriet, who had made a pact with him through the Ouija board. The priest continued to pray and to challenge the demon until suddenly Roland's voice changed. He spoke in a normal tone and said, "He's gone." He then came out of his trance and looked around the room. He saw the priests and his family and smiled. He said that he had a vision of Saint Michael, who appeared to him in a bright light and told him that he was free. He also said that he did not remember anything that had happened to him during the exorcism. The exorcism was over, Roland was cured, the demon was gone. After the exorcism, Roland and his family returned to Washington, D.C., where they tried to resume their normal lives. Roland went back to school and graduated with honors. He later married, had children, and worked as an engineer for NASA. He never spoke publicly about his experience and avoided any contact with the media or the paranormal community. He died in 2017 at the age of 81. The priests who exorcised Roland also kept a low profile and rarely discussed the case. Father Bowden died in 1983, Father Bishop in 2005, and Father Halloran in 2009. They all maintained that Roland's possession and exorcism were real, and that they had witnessed a miracle of God's grace and power. The story of Roland Doe became the inspiration for The Exorcist, a novel by William Peter Blatty, who was a student at Georgetown University at the time of the events. He based his fictional character of Regan McNeil, a 12-year-old girl who is possessed by a demon named Pazuzu, on Roland's case. He also consulted with Father Halloran, who served as a technical advisor for the book and the movie adaptation. The Exorcist was published in 1971 and became a bestseller. It was adapted into a movie in 1973 and became a cultural phenomenon. It was directed by William Friedkin and starred Linda Blair as Regan, Ellen Burstyn as her mother, and Max von Sydow and Jason Miller as the Exorcists. It was praised for its acting, directing, writing, and special effects, and was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, winning 2. It also terrified audiences around the world and sparked a wave of interest and controversy about the topic of demonic possession and exorcism. The Exorcist is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential horror movies of all time. It has spawned several sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and remakes, as well as books, documentaries, and TV shows. It has also inspired countless imitations, parodies, and references in popular culture. The Exorcist is more than just a movie. It is a legend that is rooted in a true story, a story that is still shrouded in mystery and mystery, a story that raises questions about the nature of good and evil, faith and doubt, science and religion, and the power of the human spirit. This is the story of Roland Doe, the true story behind The Exorcist.